Adam Silver made his first public comment since returning from China about the NBA's relationship with China at the Time 100 summit yesterday. He addressed the NBA's handling of the ordeal in China, noting that the league is already dealing with fairly dramatic financial consequences as a result of Daryl Morey's tweet supporting Hong Kong protesters. He went on to say that the Chinese government and business parties had asked the NBA to fire Morey, but Silver emphasized that there was going to be no punishment and they wouldn't even discipline him. So an update today, a spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry denied that the Chinese government ever made the request for Morey's firing. So now, Stephen A. Smith, what is your reaction to how Silver's handled the whole situation?
Well, first of all, I think that his initial statement wasn't as impressive as his follow-up statement in English. I think the first statement was in Mandarin, the second statement was in English, if I remember correctly. And he was taking some hits for that. It wasn't flawless, it wasn't perfect, because we looked at him and we said, had that been his predecessor, David Stern, he would have came out and said, look, a mistake was happened. It was by an individual. It wasn't by the NBA. Let's get over it and move on. We have things to accomplish. That is that. Whereas Adam Silver, not nearly as acerbic in some people's eyes, and obviously, is far more diplomatic in some people's eyes as well. He decided to go a different route initially, but clearly he has handled this in exemplary fashion. As it pertains to what I really peel from it, is that I look at Adam Silver and I said he did for Daryl Morey what the NFL should have stood up and did for Colin Kaepernick. Period. The fact of the matter is, Daryl Morey is an American citizen. He is an executive of the NBA. Was it wise for him to do what he did in terms of the timing of that tweet? No. And he needed to consider the fact that he represents the Houston Rockets, Tillman Fertitta, all of those different things. He needs to take those into consideration, which Tillman Fertitta, I'm here to tell you, let him know about. Having said all of that, Tillman Fertitta was clearly stout in his position. He wasn't going to let go of Daryl Morey as well. He should not have. And Adam Silver obviously backed that thinking. Now you juxtapose that with Colin Kaepernick. No, he wasn't. The NFL didn't come out with a statement. No, the NFL didn't say you're banned from this league or whatever. But he's clearly been blackballed. And why is that relevant? Colin Kaepernick broke no laws. He didn't break any bylaws. He didn't break any NFL laws. He did nothing wrong. And the NFL didn't stand by him and take the position. Excuse me, he is one of us. He had the right to express himself. He will be a part of this league. Come hell or high water. They didn't take that stance. Daryl Morey, Adam Silver and those guys did it with Daryl Morey. And I'm here to tell you something right now. As a black man, it resonates with us, only from this perspective. Because you do have black folks in the community out there saying, what if Daryl Morey were black? And he had said what he said. Would the league come to his defense? I believe Adam Silver still would. I believe the NBA still would, because I know those people and I know how conscientious they are. It's a shame that the NFL hasn't prioritized doing that with Colin Kaepernick.
Before you go, too, let's not forget how Adam Silver handled race relations with the Donald Sterling situation as well. Max?
That's right.
Those are the two defining moments of his commissionership so far.
Correct.
The cynicism as it relates to Adam Silver is out of control. It's out of control. He handled this. There's no such thing as optimal handling, right? I can't imagine handling this much better. Let me say this. The idea that's out there that because finances of a league are a consideration, that somehow is morally disqualifying in terms of any decision he eventually makes is absurd. Did he equivocate in the beginning? Did he try to talk out of both sides of his mouth, placate the Chinese government? And of course he did. China's an enormous piece of business for the NBA, and it represents growth for the league. Whether or not it's fully saturated in this country, we can debate it, but certainly the growth potential for the league in the near future is China, an enormous basketball-obsessed market. Of course he wants to keep that piece of business intact. Of course. Just as Goodell with Kaepernick, I'm glad you brought that up, didn't want the, for lack of a better term, kind of red state reaction to Kaepernick to affect the NFL bottom line. That is not the point, that you take the finances into consideration. Nor is it an issue like the cynicism extends to, well, Adam Silver did the calculation, and the bottom line was that he's better off taking this stance than supporting the Chinese government and censuring Daryl Morey somehow. No, I don't buy that. I do not buy that. Adam Silver and Roger Goodell both took the bottom line into consideration, but only one of them stood up for values, and even that are apart from just money. And even if we're saying, well, that's because the position that the NBA is in is different than the NFL, and had it been, whatever, that's not what actually happened. What actually happened was Adam Silver was faced with enormous financial repercussions from the Chinese government. Even a lot of the NBA stars he thought he was standing up for, the principal, are there's a backlash against him. And he's done it anyway. He deserves commendation.
Right.
He is the best commissioner in American team sports right now.
Okay. I appreciate the pom-poms for Adam Silver because I have them as well. I have them as well. I admire and respect this man greatly. I got a lot of affection for Adam Silver.
Same.
But, and I'm sure you do as well, but in the interest of fairness, let's make sure we highlight, and I know I'm going to come back to you, but I'm going to pause you for a second here, Max, because you need to make sure that you dissect the difference between the two. Adam Silver took a position against China. He didn't take a position against the very people who employ him, which are NBA owners, because they support his position on Daryl Morey. And the vast majority of them supported his position with Donald Sterling. We covered it. We know it. The fact is, you had a couple of owners that spoke out, but by and large, most of the owners were lockstep, marched right with Adam Silver and LeBron James and Chris Paul and others in taking the position that Adam Silver ultimately disseminated to the masses. In the case of Roger Goodell, you do have to be sensitive to the fact that that wasn't a geopolitical issue. It was right here in America, and the position that we all wanted him to take is something that the owners themselves were diametrically opposed to
I'll address
in
that right
this
now.
league.
Let me address that right now. If your premise is that the commissioner of a league like the NBA or the NFL is simply a puppet for the owners, in other words, they will always reflect the will of the owners, then there's nothing to discuss here. I reject that. I don't think they're largely a puppet of the owners.
Well, I'm not saying merely, but I agree with largely.
The character of, in this case, the man,
right,
does enter in here. What Roger Goodell has shown is that the growth of the NFL business is the only thing that informs his opinions.
That's not fair to Roger Goodell.
What else informs Roger Goodell's opinions?
Let me tell you why that's not fair. It's not fair because, Max, you're assuming that just because somebody doesn't articulate something publicly, that must mean they don't feel that way. What I'm saying is it's entirely plausible that Roger Goodell disagreed with the position a vast majority of owners took, but didn't articulate that.
What's entirely, the behavior? I don't care about the thought. What's the behavior?
But you have to in their position. Because what I'm saying to you is that as much as we support Adam Silver, as people that cover the NBA like we have for so many years, this guy is supported by those owners.
But wait, if they
did not support him, what would he do?
Stephen A., if your claim is that that the commissioner simply reflects the will of the owners, why talk about the commissioner?
Publicly.
No, but I'm talking about the behavior. The behavior. I don't care what they feel. I want to see what they do.
What I'm saying to you, Max, is that there are many instances, you notice, there are many instances where you don't see what they're doing. There's many instances where there's a lot that they do that we're not privy to. That happens.
According to the public record of what's going on in the NBA and the NFL, not for the first time, in my opinion, has Adam Silver made a decision that was based on more than just the bottom line. I'm not claiming that the bottom line doesn't have a huge influence on his behavior, and he's largely informs it, of course, or that it even informed his initial reaction to this whole thing, and maybe he could get away. I understand all that. The bottom line is, in the end, what you do. And Adam Silver, not for the first time, has done something without simply an eye toward the bottom line.
I'm trying to handle
more than just the bottom line.
I'm trying to handle this delicately because I'm trying to make you understand. I agree with you. I don't disagree with you about Adam Silver. I applaud Adam Silver. But I think you also have to applaud NBA owners because by and large, let me finish. Because by and large, not only does he agree with them, but he talks to them. And oh, by the way, when they don't agree with him, have you heard Adam Silver come out and say, well, the owners disagree with me, but this is the position? No, he doesn't reveal that like that. What I'm saying is we know that NFL owners disagree and they bring a heavy hand down upon Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell has to deal with things differently than Adam Silver has to deal with.
Let's move this ball down the field.
Right.
The NBA has ownership that reflects more progressive values, maybe,
you can say
than the NFL.
Yeah, I believe
and therefore, the commissioner that they hire is a reflection of those values.
Okay.
That's fine with me. That still means that Adam Silver reflects those values.
Yes, still does mean that. But also, let's not ignore the fact that it's easier for him to do his job having the support that he has, as opposed to somebody like Roger Goodell, who might be a little bit more progressive than you realize, but is battling and fighting with 32 owners who, for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, ain't nearly as progressive.
I would have to see one thing that Goodell has ever done that wasn't simply with an eye toward the bottom line in the NFL.
And I'm saying to you,
pressure.
There could be various things that Goodell has done.
He trial balloons and sees which way the winds blow.
Who comes out and says, look, I disagree with my boss. This is what they wanted, y'all, but I said to hell with them. Right. What commissioner does that? None of them.
But we have no way to discuss that one way or another without the evidence. I'm talking about what these commissioners actually do. Goodell, you can see, it's almost like he wants to have a public opinion poll before he figures out what. And Adam Silver will sometimes just make a call with ramifications. Like, are we sure that getting rid of Donald Sterling was going to happen? At the time, I didn't think it was going to happen.
I've got news for you, and I'll close like this. I know we got to go. I've got news for you. I don't ever recall Adam Silver just doing something. Adam Silver, now you got cats on speed dial. He can get them on the phone within 5-10 minutes. But let me tell you something. This dude talks and he trust me, he gets the feeling from them.
Of course, any executive does. Of course he does that. To the extent that Goodell does?
Huh?
To the extent that Goodell does?
How do you know it's not? How?
I'm looking at the behavior, what he actually does, not how he thinks, feels, what we don't know, what we do know.
Okay.
All right, guys, we got to take a break. I appreciate the passion on this conversation. Still to come. Still to come on First Take, Heisman winner Tim Tebow will tell us if LSU quarterback Joe Burrow has passed all